And I could see there's quite a big difference in confidence levels, the way that women would describe their technical skills quite often. So they'd say, I'm not really a shooter, I'll try, I'm not great. And whereas quite often the younger male directors would be, I'm a brilliant shooter, I shoot on this camera, I use these lenses, I'm super confident. And sometimes you'd look at both sets of rushes and they would be very similar.
Hello, Katie. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. When we were thinking of guests, you were top of my list because obviously I'm an ex-mentee of Women in Film and I owe a lot to where I am now because of you guys. So I really wanted to learn about you and about your career and how you got into the industry, because you started off in documentary filmmaking, if that's right?
Yes, I did.
I'd love to know how you went from documentaries to Women in Film. I know that's a really broad, a broad span of time, but what got you into documentaries?
Well, I was trying to think about, trace it right back. I mean, I've always been interested in people. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I genuinely, as a kid, I would sit and think, I would be told off for asking too many questions.
I'm like that.
My brother would be like, shh, stop it, and stop, don't be nosy. And but I am interested genuinely in people. And I was quite good at English at school. I went to a comprehensive and in Morecambe in the northwest of England. It's described as a deprived seaside resort, but I have a lot of love for it. And there was a work experience opportunity at a local newspaper, and I was quite good at English. So I went to work for the Lancaster Guardian, which is our local paper. And they just happened to be really short-staffed. I was 14. I had a jumper with teddy bears on, I remember. And on the second day in the office, there was the story about the deregulation of the buses. So the privatising the council buses. And this slightly grumpy journalist said, can you just go to the council chambers and listen and find out what the story is? But I didn't really know what that meant. So I got my notebook and I went to the council chambers, and it was lots of dry dialogue and quite complicated politics around the contracts, around the buses and the deregulation, which I went over my head. And I found
you
it really...
were 14?
Yeah. I found it super difficult to get a handle on it.
I don't think I would know what any of that was now when I'm 40.
So but I thought, well, I'll go to the bus station because I might be able to talk to the bus drivers and see what they think. So I talked to the bus drivers, and that was much easier for me. I talked to lots of really interesting bus drivers. Some were angry, some were confused, some were upset. But I found this lady who lived in a rural village, and I talked to her and what the deregulation of the buses would mean for her. And she's told me that she only came into town once a week. This was her big thing. She came to buy pet food, and she came to buy the Marx's, and she's probably in her 80s, and this was her one big trip of the week. And the deregulation of the buses meant that she no longer could have this lifeline into the town of Lancaster. And I remember she got quite emotional. I remember feeling really sort of sad for her and angry for her and all these sort of feelings. So I wrote the story down. I didn't do shorthand. I wrote it longhand, and I wrote reams and reams about this story. But I remember being quite moved, and I went into back to the Lancaster Guardian and started talking, and they were like, this is a great story. This is a great angle. She's a great contributor, character. And it was absolute instinct, and the only way I could get my head around the story and make it human. So I think I had maybe a natural, slightly journalistic instinct.
Yeah.
That was when I was 14. And then when I was 15, the following year, I was at home one afternoon. My dad was the local boat builder. Somebody came to our house, knocked on the door. Now I know them to be like a props person. And they were shooting an episode of Poirot in the Midland Hotel in Morecambe, which is a beautiful Art Deco hotel. And they wanted a boat for David Jason to act around or in or on. And my dad said, yeah, we'll take a boat down. And he shouted at me and he said, do you want to come? And anyway, we turned up, and it was a night shoot. And the Midland Hotel was lit up by incredible lighting. Beautiful. And there was period costume, and there was cameras and clattering of tracks and dollies and makeup artists. And I went in the catering wagon, and it had this amazing fruit platter. I'm not an urchin, but I'd never seen kiwis and pomegranate seeds.
So exotic.
And I could, it was like stepping onto a magical, night shoes are pretty magical as an adult, but as a kid, I stepped onto this, and I was absolutely sort of sold. And I liked the atmosphere, because the only work experience I'd had was in a chip shop, which is where I worked, which they liked, but they weren't passionate about. And I saw this set and everybody was so passionate, working their hardest, laughing, joking, being really disciplined. And I just sort of fell in love with on a film set. And I got in the car and the guy wound down the window and he gave my dad, I think it was £50, which is like late 80s was quite a lot of money. And he looked at me and he obviously saw that something had happened to me. And he said, love, he said, find something you love doing and try and get some bugger to pay you to do it. And he obviously knew that I suppose combining my two bits of exposure to like journalism and a film set, somewhere in that mix that I'd been exposed to, I knew that I wanted to kind of work somewhere. And that, I mean, I had no experience or background or thoughts about the industry whatsoever. I would never have known about it. All my friends' parents were fishermen and farmers and maybe teachers, or one worked in Marks and Spencer's. Like, I didn't have a clue that it was a thing. Yeah. So that chance little window of me literally stepping onto that magical set sparked something in me. So I feel really passionately about giving people, because I can do it. Obviously, I've done all right in it, but I would never have known that had I not been given that little spark. And I think that's why I'm really passionate about giving people opportunities, just showing them. Because I don't believe you have to be this kind of person or that class of person or with this background to
from
work
this
in
place. No. Because I was going to say, because obviously you're from Morecambe, so how easy was it for you to make that transition? Obviously, Morecambe doesn't get a lot. It's had a bit now, but it doesn't really get a lot of films or TV shows knocking on its door.
No,
so
I mean,
especially in the
late 80s,
80s, 90s. So did you move to London? What was the route that you decided?
Well, I knew that I sort of wanted to do something, but I didn't really know what or how. And I went to the library and just looked in loads. I did sixth form and I was doing A-level English. And I was offered a Marks and Spencer's trainee scheme. The school were quite keen. There was an opportunity, but I kind of didn't want to do that. So I went in the library and my mum and my dad, and we looked at books. And there was a really new course in York called, I was good at English, so English I was going to do major, but it had minor drama, film and television.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really early, quite practical, the drama, film, WFTV bit. And so I went to York and met like-minded people that wanted to make things and do things, which is what I got a lot of satisfaction doing, was delivering, producing. I already sort of knew that because in the sixth form, I was involved in this thing called the Bob Graham Round, which was the first, I suppose, producing I'd ever done. And we needed a new school minibus. I did a lot of outdoor education at school. We were very lucky because we were on the edge of the Lake District. And the minibus broke and we weren't going to be able to do outdoor education anymore and go up to the lakes walking and climbing and canoeing and all those things. It was going to finish unless we could raise the funds for this new minibus. And I knew of a thing called the Bob Graham Round, which was a fell run, which is 72 miles, which is 42 mountains, and you run it in 24 hours. I'm not saying that I was going to put myself forward, but there was
someone should do this.
There was a brilliant guy at my school, a 17-year-old called Peter Hamilton, who was good at running. So I don't know how I formulated this, but I went to the outdoor pursuits teacher, amazing guy called Gibby, and said, what if Peter runs the Bob Graham Round and we get him sponsored? And he was like, okay, well, if you do all the organising, all the sponsorship raising, all the press and publicity, I suppose, around this, I will train Peter. And so I rallied the sixth form and we all went to the Lake District for a week to... we all climbed mountains and practiced where we were going to be, and the home economics team. We did our recce's, and we got the home economics students to make banana sandwiches because there was no like sports esoteric.
So you got your crafts.
Yeah, we did that, and then I rang the local paper and Look Northwest, and my friend Jenny, who did art, did the T-shirts, and it was a real.
So you really were producing without realising.
But I didn't know. I found the accommodation. All the sixth formers slept in this hut, and then we planned to meet him every mile. So every mile we placed a sixth former cheering him on, Peter, across the mountains. And he did it in 19 hours, 45 minutes. Wow. And he's the youngest person, I think, still to hold the record for this Bob Graham round.
Cool.
And there were points when I met him, I was in charge, like I felt really responsible for this whole event. And halfway through, after about, 7 or 8 hours of running, he just said, I can't do this anymore, I feel sick. And I was like, you've got to do it, you've got to do it. And the Look North were coming to film him. And I was like, you have to be okay. You're all right, Peter. We gave him some stew. We were like, you're all right. And he did it. And he did the run. And the whole sixth form ran in with him, cheering him. And we raised the money and we got the minibus. And I just think it was a real thrill. And looking back, that must have been, pulling something off like that must have informed me. It must have been in my early sort of years of laying something down in me that went, do that. And I know that when I organise things now, sixth form reunions and things, my friend said to me a couple of years ago, oh yeah, Katie Bailiff getting shit done since 1989.
I love that.
So yeah, I get shit done.
I mean, that's the main thing. So you got shit done. After your course, did you then, I know I keep referencing moving to London, but it's obviously such a hub in the UK, and it definitely was back in the day. I know we have a lot more hubs now, but was that after York, were you like, right, I'm going to London to pursue my dream, or did you want to keep it local? And
I moved so in my fourth year, I actually entered a competition with the Royal Television Society and made a short film, and the prize was work experience at a company called Real Life in Leeds, Ruth Pitt's company, and I started doing 1 day a week during my fourth year as, I guess, a production coordinator. But I could see that what I was really interested in what the researchers were doing, the documentary researchers. I couldn't believe it was a job to basically get paid £250 a week to ask anybody that you wanted in the whole country any question.
To do what you would do for free anyway.
And I saw the researchers and I thought, that's what I want to do. Yeah. And one of the films that they made was a film called Saturday Night with a director called Brian Hill, who I went on to set up a company with. And it was about different people's Saturday nights in Leeds. It was a modern times. It was quite iconic. It was shot in black and white. And Simon Armitage was the poet laureate, did the narration. It was quite a sort of an iconic film. And I was hanging around in the office and I ended up going out on some of the Saturday nights, recce's and meeting people and finding characters. And that's when I was sort of sold to be, that's what I wanted to be, a researcher. So I got offered a job just before I graduated to be a researcher on a series for ITV about a doctor's surgery in Derbyshire. So I spent a year as a researcher in a doctor's surgery when patients came in saying, hello, we're making a documentary series. Can you tell me about what you're here for? Which was amazing.
Did people tell you? Like,
they did.
I've got a rash.
They did tell you, I'm having a vasectomy, or I've got a lump and a bump, or we filmed a home birth on a farm. And I loved that job. I just thought it was the best thing ever. Getting to know, it's such a privilege being a documentary researcher. You're in all these different worlds. And it's one of the best jobs I've ever had, I think. Still, as I rise through the ranks, I still loved my time as an assistant producer, a documentary researcher, meeting characters, asking their stories, getting access to incredible places, you know.
It's so fulfilling, I suppose, when people trust you and let you into their world and tell you, you know, stuff that they probably wouldn't tell other people. It is a real privilege.
Yes, and so those social issue films that I did early on in my career, I think are the foundation for my worldview. You know, I've spent a year in a young offenders institute. I've spent a year in a women's prison. I've spent a year in a rehab. I've been in an abattoir. I've been in a hospital. I've spent time in a school. I've worked with social services. All these incredible British institutions. I've been basically bedded in there for long periods of time, filming and learning about the way that the world works and what's fair and what's unfair and how lucky people are and how desperately unlucky some people are in their lives, you know.
Yeah, wow. That must have been, all of those places must have been incredibly heartbreaking to spend time with people who obviously might be down on their luck or...
Yeah.
I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a film I did called Songbirds, which went to Sundance, which is a feature-length documentary for Channel 4, and the stories of the women in there who are often in there frankly, through things that they'd done for men, either drug mules or they'd, they had drug and alcohol issues themselves, or they'd been victims of domestic violence and they'd retaliated. And I think that, seeing women have their children taken away from them was the most sort of heartbreaking thing that you can see. And in lots of films that I've made, I've seen people at the worst of their times, but I've seen the resilience.
Yeah.
And that is super inspiring. And I think that having been in those worlds, you can't help but think how fortunate you are to have a good family background, how fortunate you are to have friends and family, because so many people don't. They don't have anything.
Puts so much into perspective, doesn't it, when you see things like that? And then you said that you met, was it Brian, who you then went on to set up Century with?
So I was a researcher and then an assistant producer in Leeds for about 5 years. And then Brian came along to real life and he was making another film. And I happened to say to him that I was planning on going to Australia. My sister and my brother lived out there. My mum was about to spend a period of time out there. And I said I was going and I didn't actually have any plans to go. I just said, yeah, I'm going to Australia. It's a bit like build it, they will come, or I call it manifesting.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, you're going to Australia, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I want to. And he went, well, do you want to come with me and make this series for Channel 4 about Brits who've emigrated to Oz? And I just said, yeah. And we were there for a year. And my job as an assistant producer was to travel all over Australia, finding Brits who had emigrated either in the 50s or the 60s, 70s and 80s, and it was just incredible. I got paid to travel all over Australia and meet people living on Aboriginal reserves or in the Northern Territories or on the Gold Coast.
And spend time with your families?
Yes, I know, in my family, and find brilliant characters and brilliant stories for the 3-part series to Channel 4. And while we were out there, we pitched an idea to the BBC Modern Times called Drinking for England. And I remember talking about who we were going to, because you can warehouse documentaries or films in other people's production companies. And we were working for a different production company. And I remember Brian saying, oh, we could set up our own, or we could do it with someone else. And I was 26, quite naive. And I was like, oh, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
He said, we got to find an office and get staff. So essentially, we set up to make that one film. Brian was already incredibly established, really well-respected filmmaker. And we made that film and it won an RTS award and it was really groundbreaking. And then we got development to make more films. And then we ended up running a really successful award-winning documentary company with lots and lots of people through our books who then went on to be amazing, setting up their own companies or commissioners or award-winning filmmakers. So it was a really happy time, brilliant time.
And were there any filmmakers that you were like, you knew straight away that they were going to be special?
Yes, I mean, we had a lot of people through. So we had a guy called Morgan Matthews who now runs Minnow Films. He's a really successful director. We worked on 4 or 5 films together as a sort of director-producer team, and his ambition and his drive and his shooting and everything, you could sort of see. Yeah. I think there was a lot of people that were really dedicated to and passionate about making really worthwhile films there. There was lots of people. Amy Flanagan, who went on to be a commissioner at Channel 4, she was an assistant producer on a film called Feltham Sings that we did, which won a BAFTA in Feltham. We did a lot of pushing the form film, so musical documentaries, hybrid docudramas. So we played with form quite a lot, and we had the luxury of having such a reputation that people would sort of trust us with new ideas.
Well, you delivered previously, so why wouldn't you on those, I guess? And then you stayed at Century for, was it 20 years? 21 years?
About 25.
25 years, wow. Yeah. And then what were you just ready for a new change? What, like for something new? What made you decide to career pivot?
I always reinvented myself at Century. Like I gave myself new challenges the whole time. So we did a big series called The Secret History of Our Streets, which was a history series. I'd never done a history series before. That wasn't my background. Or we did a drama, or we did a feature doc, and I'd never raised funds for a feature doc. So I was always kind of making challenges for myself to keep it interesting. There's always new teams and new commissioners. So it felt like loads of new jobs the whole time. It's
never boring, is it?
Never boring. I never felt bored, and I loved it. I had 2 kids while I was at Century. They were my, precious productions. And I came back and made all that work, which I was really proud of. I didn't really miss a beat in terms of my career, which is really hard. And retrospectively, I'm really proud of the fact that Century supported me and I was able to do that. But I think one of the things I've found out that I really loved, apart from being hands-on exec producer, making films, was with experienced people, I did several, maybe 10 or 11 first-time director films. So the first cut for Channel 4, fresh slot for the BBC. So they were brand new directors with quite tricky documentary subjects. Yeah. And I really loved execing first-time directors, the mentoring of it, the challenge of it, the emotional support of it. Because I think if you help somebody make their first film, you're in their good books forever.
Oh, yeah. And you're in their history as well.
Yeah, and I think I really loved doing that. And a lot of those directors have gone on to do brilliant things and, will call themselves centurions because even though they're working elsewhere, they feel that was where they...
think of a name for our gang.
Yeah, that's where they were sort of born. And I really liked doing that. And I mentored, exec produced quite a few female first-time directors.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see that there was extra challenges quite often with confidence levels. Often they came from producing into directing, both the men and the women, and the women were much more comfortable with the producing elements of it and less comfortable about leaning into the directing.
Yeah.
They would prefer, or not prefer, but they would be drawn to or think that it was their role to organise all the logistics and worry about the shoots and the finance. And I'd be like, no, what's the story? What's the look of this film? What's the setup? What's the narrative? And I would find men would be really happy to leave all the producing behind and really get into directing. And I could see that was a vast difference. And I could see there's quite a big difference in confidence levels, the way that women would describe their technical skills quite often. So they'd say, I'm not really a shooter, I'll try, I'm not great. And whereas quite often the younger male directors would be, I'm a brilliant shooter, I shoot on this camera, I use these lenses, I'm super confident, I'm great. And sometimes you'd look at both sets of rushes and they would be very similar.
Yeah.
So I had a real thing about women not feeling as confident. They wouldn't sell themselves in pitches. They would make you more nervous sometimes when they're talking about their material. They'd be like, oh, I don't think I've got much. And then you'd look and it was marvellous, their edits. So I thought there's something in this. It's really interesting. And so I was very passionate about women in the industry and how I could help them and level them up and make them feel bloody proud of the hard work that they did.
And worthy. Yeah.
Yeah, but then, so I wasn't really, I just was doing that because I really enjoyed that. And then I was headhunted.
Oh, okay.
So somebody came to me. I think they wanted somebody that had got a business background, that had got drama and doc experience, had a big network, but had also got form in helping people.
Getting shit done.
Getting stuff done. And it was really quite torturous to make the decision and to leave Century. But I think the time was probably right. The budgets were coming down for documentaries. There was less commissions for those social issue stuff. The stuff I loved doing was harder to get over the line. So I kind of, I made the pivot just during lockdown.
Yeah. So in your 4 years, has there been one thing you go, God, I'm so glad I got that over the line?
Well, I'm really proud of expanding the things that are already there and consolidating those and building those. So we've really doubled the membership, for example. We've reached out into a lot more areas of film and TV. So not just directing and actors and writers, but we've got business people and finance and VFX people. We've really broadened our offer. I'm really proud of our reach now. I think we've expanded the mentoring scheme, so into Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and the North. Last 2 years ago was the North, and I was really passionate about that happening, setting up a Northern cohort. I could see that the mid-career mentoring scheme was transformational for so many women.
For me.
For you, for all the brilliant women that go on that I could see, but I could see that there was something missing at the leader end, more senior. Right. So I set up along with Tracy Forsyth, the Fearless Leadership scheme, which is for senior women, COOs, CEOs, so leadership roles, who 20 years plus in the industry. So that's been an amazing scheme. We're into our third cohort at the moment. I'm really proud of that. And then the Writers Lab, the Screenwriters Lab for new writers, we set that up. This is our third cohort of that as well. So those new initiatives that are purposeful and bespoke and really well crafted. We never, like with our mentoring scheme, we never stop refining it. Like the end of every, what went well, what could we do better, what's the zeitgeist, what's happening in the industry, how can we reflect that, how can we give women in film and television, all these brilliant women that maybe don't know it, how can we give them a sort of shot in the arm? It's like a vitamin shot to accelerate them to where they need to be and where they should be.
And are there any things that you see that there's a need for, but you haven't quite figured out how to fill that, and you're desperate to, I need to do that because it's important?
Yeah, I mean, we launched in International Women's Day, we launched a film festival, so it's members' work, which is a bit of a no-brainer, but we've got so many talented people in the membership. So we did a whole day of shorts and docs and talks about the industry, and we're going to do that again this year. We're going to do right across the UK. So that's in the pipeline, a sort of superb version of that, which is really great. I mean, I think we've just done our first year of a production management course for northern women in the north who are production managers or head of productions. That's been really successful, so I'd love to do that again. I mean, I think we're talking at the moment about something, trying to encourage scripts with for parts for women over 50. Yeah. So I think that's something that we've been talking about. I'd love to do something around that. So specific bespoke scripts for featuring older actors, more mature women.
Amazing. And then can we talk a little bit more about the mentoring scheme?
Yeah,
because
you tell me.
But just for some people who might not understand what it is or have heard of it before and what its purpose is, can you just give a little roundup as to the one that I did anyway? Yeah,
so our mentoring scheme it's for mid-career women, so 7 years in the industry, and it's for women who are at a point in their career where they want to accelerate or slightly pivot or step into a slightly different field, or they're coming back from kids, so having kids, so they're at a point where they just feel maybe a bit stuck and they just want to sort of put their foot down. Yeah. We pair them up with a mentor of their choice, usually somebody that's done the trajectory that they've done, that they'd like to do. We put together a bespoke series of workshops, everything from finance for freelancers to raising your profile on social media to, networking. So everything, a toolbox of things that we think mid-career women need. They also, each of the cohort, present a masterclass in their field that they're in to the rest of the mentees. So you can get a real deep dive into advertising at Netflix or being a cinematographer on a major feature doc or a new business and finance. You can get a really deep dive. So you come away with this 360 view of the industry. Did you sort of find that? What did you do your talk on?
Yeah, so I used to be a financial controller. I think I was the only drama person, film, TV drama person in the room, I was really surprised at. I was really surprised that there weren't more people from that world. I did my talk about what I do, which felt like a bit of a cheat to do it, but then I realised not many people understood what your job as like a production accountant or financial controller actually is. And I really went into the granular detail of like, when you submit this piece of paper, like the journey of what that does, like, there's a reason we don't pay that immediately. We have to do this, please this person, please that person, check with that person, do this. And I think at the end of it, everybody was like, wow, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as easy as just, oh, yeah, I'll sign your timesheet or I'll sign your expenses. It's like, oh no, that gets analysed within an inch of its life for various different reasons because I've got to please the producer, the line producer, the studio, the revenue, like the auditor. There's so many people you've got to keep happy on that when you do that role. That it was nice to say it out loud, but I didn't realise how many people didn't understand what the job was. And it gave me the confidence to, even though I'd done that job for a long time, like you say, as a woman, sometimes you are a little bit shyer and you're not as confident in your ability. And I was like, God, I do know this job really well. And every question they asked me, I knew the answer, which sounds really silly, but you think someone's going to throw a curveball my way and I will not know what it is. But no, it was for me, because I wanted obviously to make the pivot into producing. And nobody, I mean, I'm sure people have done it, but it's very rare to go from a production finance role into producing. And I just got, I spent my career sitting next to producers and line producers, advising them and forecasting and trying to help firefight. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they didn't. And, that was quite tough when they didn't listen, because the book still stopped with me financially. And I got to a point where I was like, I want to do that job so that I listen to the person sitting here telling me these things. And that's why I came to Women in Film. So I was like, can I do it? Is it a real thing? Have I just made this up? Do people do this? And I got paired with the wonderful Olwen Sylvester, who runs Bedlam, who I speak to every week now still.
Wow, still. That's
and
incredible.
that was 2019. We speak to each other all the time.
Amazing.
Like, she's my friend now. Like, we've got our little thing. We go to BAFTA, we have a glass of champagne when we've got to, we celebrate our wins. And it was, she was just brilliant.
It's fantastic. So the mentor is really critical, but also the cohort. Do you still stay in touch with the cohort?
Yeah, we've still got an active WhatsApp group, because they all work in different parts of the industry as well. For me, it was really handy because I didn't have a network beyond drama. So now I know all of these wonderful writers and cinematographers who work in documentaries, entertainment, factual, daytime, and I didn't know anybody who did any of that. So, and I wouldn't have met Phil if it wasn't for Women in Film. So,
oh really?
One of the mentees introduced me to film.
Wow, so there you go.
Yeah, so it changed my
critical.
life. Yeah, I would probably still be a controller now, figuring out how to do it, like how to make the move. So, I met Phil at a point where he was like, I'm taking this seriously. And I was like, I want to do it too. And we're both from Liverpool. And we both were like, should we just give it a go?
Fantastic.
So it changed
So it gave you confidence, it
big
gave
time.
you contacts, it gave you a network, it gave you the boost. It's rocket fuel. That's what we say.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, just because nobody else usually has done it this way, doesn't mean you can't.
So you basically said, this is what I want to do.
I've got to find a way to do this.
And did it consolidate that thinking during the mentoring scheme then? Was it like, were you backwards and forwards with the idea, or were you like on a mission?
No, I was on a mission. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I think when I had my interview with Tracy, she could see like she's determined to do this. And I think she wanted to help. And I think because of the unique pivot I wanted to make, or the unique move I wanted to make, she was like, I think we could help. So I always knew I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how. And obviously all of the stuff I learnt with you guys was just instrumental in making me believe that I could, and just put myself out there. Like, so what if I don't know someone? I'll go make sure I get to know them. And
you can spot a mentee. They say things like that.
I'll talk to anyone. I'll pick up the phone to anyone, because it's it's half of your job as a producer is talking and networking and getting to know people. And I just had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes.
Well done you. I mean, you're an absolute poster girl. I do hear stories like that a lot, which is, doing a job, running an organisation where you're one of, and we have 4,000 members, and we have, 42 mentees every year, and we have 13 leadership, and all, most of the people have got things to say, like you've just said. So even on the bad days, where we all have in November, and we're stressed about organising our big award ceremony, and things are dropping out. I remember those sort of words that you say. I just think, what a great job!
No, and I'm the same. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm thinking 5 years ago, Sam would kill to have this problem now.
Yeah,
and that's what me like. If a decision doesn't go our way, or and I always just think it's not rejection, it's redirection. We got to figure this out. So yeah, it's still not easy. It's a hard job, but it's the job I always wanted, and I've got it. So I just figure it out. Get shit done.
Brilliant. Get shit done.
But yeah, I found my letter that I wrote to myself as well.
Wow.
But I can't read my own handwriting.
Oh, yes, because you do that at the start of the scheme. Just explain that. You do that at the start of the
so at the beginning, we write ourselves a little letter that just to G you up, a little pat on the back. So this was the 10th of September 2019. Dear Sam, congratulations on getting this far. To enter a fiercely competitive industry with no contacts and be here after 11 years is pretty good going. Well done for taking the time for yourself and joining Women in Film. I really think this is the start of something special. I hope you keep pursuing your dream to be a producer. It's a goal, it's very achievable, and no reason you can't do it. It may not fall in your lap, but keep at it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You've made some incredible friends and have a new network. Remember to keep in touch with them. You are never too busy. I'm so excited for this new adventure. That boat will be yours in no time. And it was just me telling myself how great I am, really. And you write down what all the other mentees think of you as well, which was really sweet as well.
That's at the end, they say those things, don't they?
Yeah, remember you are, and then all of these lovely things that other people say that they think about you. But yeah, just reminded me that I'll have a boat in no time. That's what I've read.
I love that.
I don't know where it's going to go, but
I think that is the key, isn't it? Confidence, and it's something like the mentoring scheme.
I honestly, confidence
does
is key.
You know.
I mean, I'm very lucky with Phil as well because he is such a big cheerleader.
Yeah,
and he's very instrumental in my confidence and getting things over the line, and helping me. But yeah, it's.
I think a wonderful working relationship or partnership. I had that with Brian Hill, who was already established, but we spoke the same language.
Yeah.
We were from a similar background. He's a northern, and I'd describe characters, and if I'd gone a wrecking, he'd be like, I know exactly what you mean. We'd have a shorthand of language. We rarely disagreed about a decision that we should do. We had the same instincts. Yeah. Both cared about contributors. We both cared about the people that worked for us. And I think when you find somebody with the same values, and they're a friend, and you have good fun, that's the sort of winning formula, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can achieve anything.
I couldn't imagine setting up with anybody else. We are so similar, and we very rarely disagree. We have the same taste. We've got the same mission, with the same ethics. We want to get the same out of this. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody else other than Phil.
They say find your people, find your tribe, don't they? That's what they say.
Yeah, your vibe attracts your tribe.
That's what they say.
Yeah, which is mega cheesy.
Yeah, fine. But there's, lots of people are uncomfortable in a company or they don't like this team. It's like, well, keep going then. Keep trying. Because you will find somebody in the industry that you click with, that you connect with, and then it can just be a successful joy.
Yeah. So back to you, talking about me. What advice would you give to women today wanting to break into the industry? If you had a couple of key things that they should do?
Well, I think, I tell you what, before I started doing WFTV, I would make films with people and connect with them. I would go to rap parties and sort of connect with people. I would go to an event at Channel 4. But I thought I was just there to have a drink and chat with the people. I didn't know it was called networking.
Yeah.
And I think we have an aversion to formal networking or the word networking because it sounds cringy and awkward.
Sounds so formal.
Formal and embarrassing. And I think but it's actually quite key.
Definitely.
So it can be as simple as you've just done a job, you didn't really get to chat much to the DOP, so can I take you out for a drink? Or can we meet for a coffee? Or the commissioner that you've just delivered to, but I'd love to pick your brains on do it off the back of something.
Yeah.
And I always say flattery gets you everywhere. People love to be told that their films are great or the way it's shot's great or the costumes are amazing. Yeah. And, it's rare that I think if you write a considered note to somebody and say, I love this piece of work, I'm really fascinated, I want to do something similar, please can I take you for coffee? Yeah. If they've got time, I think they're quite a generous industry or egotistical, but either way, people don't mind talking about themselves. So either join a formal organisation like WFTV or BAFTA and go to networking events that are called networking events. And also when you're there, don't feel that you need to conquer the room. I think if you go speak to 2 or 3 people,
get their number,
feel job done, you can go home then. You don't have to stay till the bitter end, But I think putting yourself out there, it's really tough in the industry at the moment. And we have, I've lots of friends that are not working as well as members, but sitting in your bedroom waiting for the phone to ring ain't going to happen. I just think you have to get out there. You have to remind people who you are. You have to tell people about your work. You have to create an energy around you that people kind of want to buy into. So I think be your be your best friend to yourself. And we're great at talking, bigging our friends up, but we're not very good at bigging ourselves up.
No.
I think as a northerner, it was called show it off or blowing or crowing or I was bragging, and it's not a thing that people that I'm comfortable with. Yeah. It's not a thing that...
I'm like that when I have to go to America now. Every now and then, they're like, don't be British.
Yeah. Don't hide your lie under a bushel. Yeah. Get your bushel out. You need to be...
Depends who it is.
You need to just try and be confident and try and tell people what you're doing and what we've done and don't be embarrassed or shy about it.
And I suppose for the people outside of like big cities, there should be like local film offices and community groups that they could maybe make those connections as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have, event producers now in all over the UK, Leeds, Manchester, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, so do RTS, and there are lots of mixers. People are really good. The film offices are good at doing mixers. So just take every opportunity to get yourself invited and make yourself, just chat with people. And I also feel a lot of our events, people do go on their own. So I also feel if you go to one of those events and you are more confident, then, invite somebody into the circle you're standing and talking to. Go up to a person that's on their own. Because we all know what it's like to feel like a lemon in those events and feel awkward. And we all know what it's like for somebody that we perceive to be senior than us looking over their shoulder and waiting to see if there's something more interesting. And that's crushing.
Oh, yeah.
It's really crushing.
Especially when you feel like you're giving them some gold.
Yeah.
I've been there.
But it happens to everybody, whatever level you're at. Somebody's trying to meet somebody and they might have a purpose. They might want to get their show commissioned.
Yeah.
But be generous if you are more senior and be confident if you're more junior,
Yeah, no, we're big on paying it forward. Like, we always meet people for coffees. We always, like we've got an acting workshop now up in Liverpool and we do masterclasses and we get people in from all over the industry to help teach the students about their bit and how that works for them. And I think you've just got to try and do your bit, especially when you're from places which don't have a hub and don't usually have access to what's going on in the industry.
Yeah,
I think it's really important.
It sounds great. That's exactly what people should be doing, isn't it? Paying forward and reaching into communities that don't have access and don't know. If you don't know about the industry, how can you kind of get in and work in it?
Oh, exactly. When I was first told about being a production accountant, I was like, what? You're joking? How do you do that? And, it was only by chance I heard about it. And then, I bugged people for 6 months and someone gave me a job. But yeah, if you don't know, you don't know.
No. And when you do get a foot in the door, I mean, you have to graft.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not for the faint-hearted. Yeah. You have to work. But if you love it and it doesn't, I mean, I honestly say that most of the things I've worked on, I didn't feel that was a hardship. I didn't feel that I was exhausted. I just felt I had adrenaline and I loved working in a team and I loved the company of other people.
So focused on what you're doing. So looking ahead, do you have a 5-year plan for women in film? Are there things that you're excited to put out there? Can you tell us some stuff? Is it all under wraps?
I think that, keep expanding the membership, but keep serving the members who have already got. Diversify into different, in terms of the different roles in the industry. Keep up to date with that. I think it's our job to keep our finger on the pulse of the change in the industry. Yeah. So making sure that, women are ready and prepared for the changes that are coming and are already here.
Are there any immediate changes that you're kind of preparing for?
Well, obviously the streamers have come in, so traditional commissions from the terrestrial broadcasters are not being done in the same way. Yeah. There's lots of co-productions, there's money coming from other places. Yeah. Loads and loads of things are being made for channels, but are also going on YouTube. Branded content is here. So I think we've got to be broad-minded and flexible and nimble and transfer our skills to other and I really, really believe that people that work in film and TV are brilliant, just generally across the board. And I think that they can pivot really easily. I think 100%. Their skills are so transferable. And we shouldn't be put off by the fact that, I've never done branded content before, or I've never done, something for YouTube, or I've never done short form, or I think, or a co-pro. I think that we should just attack it
Yeah.
and make the most of it and sort of go for it. So I think it's our job.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We can't run away. We can't go back. We've just got to get on with it. And I think I just want to make our members like armed and ready, like a really sort of vibrant, resilient like workforce. Things like AI that are coming in. I think that we can't be frightened of AI. We can't run away from AI. We have to
Embrace
at least
it.
know about it.
Yeah.
Like we can't do anything if we don't know about it. We need to, there's no point in ignoring it. It's here. It's coming into all our roles. We need to upskill. So my big thing is to do that with our membership, really get them in all the different areas. So what does AI mean if I'm a writer? What does AI mean if I work in post? What do I need to know about AI as I'm a drama writer?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's something that we just want to future-proof the organisation. I mean, you know, the long-term goal with WFTV, and this always sounds ridiculous, but is just like work myself out of a job, right? Because, you know, if there was gender equality, if we still do massive underrepresentation in lots and lots of different sectors of the industry, just keep fighting for equality. It doesn't seem like a big ask in like 2025 to go, you know, can we do the jobs we want to do that we're really good at? Can we take some barriers away? And I think it's intersectional as well. I'm passionate about women, of course, but I'm also passionate about other underrepresented groups in the industry. You know, we fail on disability, we fail on diversity, you know, in lots of different areas. And we're getting there, we're catching up, and people are much more proactive. Oh my gosh, than 5 years ago, we've come on leaps and bounds, but there's still a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, all sounds brilliant. And then obviously you've got to throw your amazing awards ceremony every year as well.
We do, yeah. I mean,
how's that all going? The prep has started?
Yes, we've got a jury sitting today, actually. So we've got juries, so we'll start to have our winners, and then we reach out to them, and then we do all the logistics and the organising. And, you know, our awards is an incredible celebration of the women in all the different industries. And it's quite... it's quite legendary. There's a high bar.
You can never get a ticket.
It's like Glastonbury. You say it's like Glastonbury. No,
it's like
Oasis.
I was like, God, this is hard to get in.
Yeah, room full of 1,000 brilliant women celebrating each other. And I think our awards, the feedback I get is that we don't pit women against each other. We just go, this is the woman that's won, you know, the best performance this year. This is the woman that's won, you know, the achievement of the year. And everyone in that room is rooting for that woman on the stage.
Such a joyous room to be in, and it's so much fun.
It's a riot, isn't it?
It's so good.
Yeah, I love it. I just get nervous because I want it to be, it's got such a reputation.
Yes, you just got to keep that.
It's got to be as good each year, and and it always has a different flavour. It always depends. Like last year, you know, Anita Rani rocked up in their T-shirt saying middle-aged woman of a middle-class woman of a certain age.
Yeah.
And it had a sort of anarchic spirit to it.
Love that.
You know, they're all different, but they're all kind of equally memorable.
Yeah, brilliant. And then last question. To join the Going Rogue Club, you have to tell us about a rogue film or TV choice that we wouldn't expect from you.
Okay, well, I'll try and intellectualise it, but it's really just a guilty pleasure. So when I worked in documentaries, I started to, with some contributors, I started to find that they kind of were almost giving you what you wanted. So although it was observational documentary, it started to sneak in a bit where they would start to have a bit of an argument or go on a rant about something or interact in a particular way. And then they'd sort of turn and say, that'll be good for your documentary. And you're thinking, okay, so we're now going into the realms of drama. And I started to see that sneaking in. And I actually pitched a whole series. It was a documentary series where we were going to sort of push the form, because we did a lot of pushing the form, into scripted and sort of more drama-y. And then Towie came along. And it was really interesting because we were developing, and then Towie came along, and I was like, fascinating. That's doing what we said. So that it's ordinary people who are, you know, obviously, who knows now, it's in the realms of straight drama, I'm sure, lots of times, but people's stories based on their real stories, based on their real, but heightened versions of themselves with intervention. And I still, it's my guilty pleasure. I've watched all the series, and I love Towie. I love the characters. I like the stories. But ultimately, I'm really interested in what's real, what's not, what meant to be started as real and has
Yeah.
gone on, how does that impact on their real life? It sort of seems to call full circle, doesn't it, in terms of, because there's socials involved now and that comes in. So I find it, it's been going a long time, I know, but when I see it, I can't help sticking it on.
That was not what I thought you were going to say.
Exactly. It's rogue.
I love it. No, I love it. Are you one of those people when you're watching the telly and you're like, that's fake? Yeah, no, that's not real. She was told to say that because I'm a nightmare to watch the telly right now.
Yes, I am. I'm like, is that they're pushing the form there, that's real, that's slightly scripted, that's an intervention. I do that. Yeah, I do that. But then, of course, it's levity to the deeper, dark documentaries, which
it's a light
I'm
release,
obsessive with. I mean, I watch, all the difficult documentaries about all the difficult subjects. Yeah. That's what I do for fun. Yeah. And sometimes it needs to sort of lighten the load a bit.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you, mentee.